I hope those pictures looked familiar. My name is Morgan, and this is my multimedia project for Communications 2F00. I'd like to begin by discussing the purpose of this presentation, which is to explore the role digital media had in the Black Lives Matter movement, or BLM as it's more known. I think an appropriate place to start is by introducing the Black Lives Matter movement altogether, what it is, its inception, and how social media has helped popularize, mobilize, and organize it. After a man named George Zimmerman murdered 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, 3 Black women named Alicia Garza, Opal Tomati, and Patrisse Cullors founded the movement in response to the racially motivated shooting of the 17-year-old. Zimmerman was a coordinator of the community's Neighborhood Watch and shot the 17-year-old out of self-defense when the boy was just walking home from a 7-Eleven in Sanford, Florida. Martin's killer was not charged, which obviously sparked outrage and led to Cullors tweeting #BlackLivesMatter. BLM serves as a political and ideological intervention to help raise awareness and to change the systematic and targeted oppression Black people face in society, and, most importantly, to remind them of their humanity and resilience. Now that we have the necessary information needed to understand the inception of BLM, what it is, and its importance, I want to discuss social media's involvement in its success, mobilization, and organization. I would like to begin by discussing why even use social media for activism. Well, not only does social media provide people with the ability to connect with others around the world, but it also allows networked individuals, or those who are members of multiple different loose social circles facilitated by social media and technology, to question institutions like police departments or governments for lobbying change and holding them accountable. Social media also encourages political participation among networked individuals, and when their voices pick up enough traction, then they receive increased attention and hold actual power in institutions, again, like our government, and can hold them accountable. Okay, so moving on into our discussion about social media's role in BLM, I want to start by discussing some of the bad rep digital activism gets. And in the debate surrounding traditional versus digital activism, many regard digital activism as slacktivism. Digital activism is actually seen by some as the laziest form of activism and was termed slacktivism because when you express your support for an issue by liking, sharing, retweeting, or even using a hashtag or changing your profile picture, not a lot of effort goes into that. Or in other words, slacktivism does more to support one's ego than it does an actual cause. As in the case of BLM, the role social media plays is invaluable. Moving on from slacktivism, I would like to argue that the Black Lives Matter movement was anything but slacktivism, and digital media played an essential role in the movement's success and popularity. The first way in which digital media aided the BLM movement was through decentralizing political engagement. Alright, so what does that even mean? Well, decentralization involves spreading out control and responsibility of an organization across multiple parties. In the case of BLM, Twitter and Instagram, like most other social media platforms, are very effective ways of decentralizing ideas. The Black Lives Matter hashtag allowed users to interact with the movement in a decentralized manner. By using social media platforms to decentralize political engagement in the case of BLM, users were not only invited to interact with it, but to also consider the issues that affect the Black community. Going back to the core values of BLM, decentralization is so important because by distributing authority to interested participants, they too feel empowered and may contribute more to the movement. So, while social media helped to decentralize the movement and distribute power among users and participants, it also played a very important role in the coalition of BLM, which then later led to its mobilization. What is meant by this? Okay, so we know that BLM started with the Black Lives Matter hashtag in 2013, and since then it's evolved a long way. In fact, the first protest was held in 2014 after, unfortunately, yet another Black individual, Mike Ferguson, was murdered by a police officer. On the Black Lives Matter official website, it states that hashtag Black Lives Matter was used as a platform and organizational tool for the movement. Now, hashtags are super simple but incredibly useful ways in which ideas, topics, and discussions can be organized onto a platform, like Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, for example. So, when a user tweets about BLM and uses the hashtag, it will be sorted with all of the other tweets or posts using hashtag Black Lives Matter. From the actual Twitter website, we can see that Twitter's algorithm helps expose users to trending topics so you stay in the loop. As well, the algorithm also exposes you to content based on who you follow, your location, and the posts you interact with. So let's say an individual was living in Sanford, Florida in 2012 when Martin was first murdered. The following year, when Zimmerman was acquitted and the hashtag was introduced, outraged members of the Black community and family, friends of the victim may have taken to Twitter to raise awareness about the tragedy. From their tweets and retweets, the use of hashtag Black Lives Matter may have entered your feed, and you may have seen it posted by people you know. Then you learn more about the movement and you too retweet it, thus exposing yourself and others to the movement. Once it gains more traction, others in the area may receive notifications about what's hot or people in Sanford are tweeting about. Now, obviously, the outrage in the Black community that was caused by the initial murder of Martin united people on a very large scale, eventually spreading internationally. Digital media was absolutely essential for the coalition and was facilitated by the use of hashtags, specifically hashtag Black Lives Matter. This hashtag helped to organize all of the conversations regarding Black Lives Matter and spread awareness about the movement via algorithms, which help expose people to BLM based on their area, who and what they interact with, thus allowing people to connect and unite against police brutality and racial injustice. Additionally, the role of social media influencers can also help expose people to the BLM movement. Influencers dominate social media. They appear on our feed or explore pages, and even in the news and advertisements. In fact, some consumers actually think influencers are more credible when it comes to making decisions about products they're interested in buying than the actual companies selling the products. This is because the influencer's opinion about the brand is more important than how the brand presents itself and its product in an advertisement. Influencers are opinion leaders and trendsetters who have a large following and presence on social media platforms. So, when we see these people we look up to and have value in our decision making post about BLM, not only does it reach their audience, but it influences their followers to check it out, which may lead to more posts, more retweets, and more awareness about the issue. So as you can see here, it didn't take me long, but I found 2 examples of influencers on Instagram utilizing hashtag Black Lives Matter to bring more awareness and educate their audience on the issue. With Spanky Valentine sharing her story about racism she's experienced, and Rachel providing sources to help people become more sensitive to the issue at hand, both are doing a part in using their platform to help spread awareness about BLM. There's more to the success of BLM than coalition, however. As I mentioned earlier, hashtag Black Lives Matter facilitated unionization, and Twitter provided the platform needed for hashtag Black Lives Matter to mobilize. So mobilization is the organized effort made by a group to help achieve a goal. And recall that the goal of BLM is to help empower and fight systematic racism and violence faced by Black people on a day-to-day basis. How did Twitter facilitate this? Well, studies have actually shown that online political participation leads to offline engagement because online and offline activities are closely related. like a connective action. In terms of BLM, Twitter was used as a platform to mobilize the movement because not only does social media like Twitter help to amplify a hashtag, but it's widely accessible to a lot of people. While the movement may have started in Florida, through retweeting and interacting with hashtag Black Lives Matter, it was able to spread nationwide and eventually globally. Additionally, these group chats can be created on platforms which allow interested members and participants a safe space to converse with one another and organize events and activities, like rallies and protests. The importance of these group chats comes with the privacy they provide invested members from what we would refer to as trolls. Oftentimes, these group chats are private, so the owner of the group chat has to decide who they want to let in. And obviously, you can see how this will prevent the chat from being infiltrated by trolls. And from these chats between members on Twitter and Facebook, especially, the movement was taken from online discussion to the streets in organized protests, which saw ample success. As the New York Times reports, around 4,700 protests have taken place in 2,500 different cities. I'm going to move on to social media and narrative amplification, and the importance of narrative amplification in Black Lives Matter. Social media platforms like Twitter provided Black Lives Matter activists opportunities to control their own narratives and share their stories, which further propagated the movement. As well, seeing the stories shared and circulated by other people encourages more to participate and share their own narratives, thus spreading more awareness and visibility for BLM. The ease of sharing and retweeting makes it incredibly simple to amplify selective narratives that people identify with and that demonstrate a need for the movement. For example, a user by the name of Rico Harrison posted a video his friend's daughter took in school to Facebook. This video included audio of the young Black girl's teacher ranting to his students, and in the audio you can clearly hear the teacher reference stereotypical ideas that Black women are more likely to be welfare cases.
You need something from me. I need nothing from you. You can go through life and live on the fucking system, draw your paycheck on the 1st and the 15th from my taxes, and live just an absolute horrible life. I don't care. You can be another statistic. I don't care.
But the video was shared by @Jessica9703431 on Twitter. So here we see the initial post being shared by Harrison on Facebook, which was then later shared and amplified by Jessica on Twitter. Her tweet received a decent amount of views, likes, retweets, and quote tweets. The ease by which these narratives and people's stories and experiences with racism can be shared and blown up further demonstrate a need for BLM and help expose more people to the Black Lives Matter initiative. Moving on, I would now like to talk about citizen journalism and its role in digital activism. Citizen journalism is an important element enabled by digital media that has significant impact on digital activism movements. In the case of BLM, citizen journalism was being live streamed and shared on social media and was actually more credible than the traditional media and how it was reporting the protests. I found an example of a group administrator for BLM who spoke on the differences between how BLM was being reported by news outlets versus activists on the streets in the middle of the protests. This person said that seeing what was being tweeted and shared by activists at the protest was very different from how the events that took place on the same day were being reported by traditional media outlets. As social media has become a more integrated part of our daily lives, its credibility has also increased. Citizen journalism has helped present the truth to what is happening in protests that were largely peaceful. And I think it's important to say that because I'm sure you've seen a lot of the coverage of riots, looting, and chaos on the news in relation to BLM. News outlets like The Telegraph have referred to BLM supporters and participants as far-left agitators, and associate the movement for racial equality and brutality awareness with Marxism. Citizen journalism showed the peaceful reality of these protests and helped to fight the harmful imagery being shared by traditional media. The last thing I would like to address is some of the challenges associated with using social media to popularize, mobilize, and organize the BLM movement. While there are obviously many benefits and positive aspects of using social media, it doesn't come without any of its challenges or downsides that actually work against the goal of the movement by distracting it from its fundamental values of fighting and raising awareness for racial injustice and brutality experienced by Black people. When hashtag Black Lives Matter is used for posts not associated or making any meaningful contribution to BLM, it diverts attention away from it. For example, upon exploring Twitter through the hashtag Black Lives Matter hashtag, you may also come across some posts that have no relation whatsoever to Black Lives Matter. A similar trend developed on Instagram with hashtag Blackout Tuesday, which I'm sure you've heard of, where black squares were posted to show support for BLM. Again, this completely takes away from what the Black Lives Matter movement should actually focus on. Additionally, including BLM in your bio, social media handle, or in your post could actually put you at risk of being a target for trolls and racists. And yes, while these private group chats can help to limit the trolling done to the group who is trying to plan and organize something, it's still an issue for individuals who don't have private accounts because they want to broadcast their thoughts publicly. So this is going to be it for this video, and I hope you leave with a greater understanding of how social media was used as a platform for mobilizing, popularizing, and organizing the Black Lives Matter movement. Thank you for watching. This concludes my video, and I will have all of my sources in the description box down below in case you want to check any of them out. Thank you!